The Braves are mired in a nightmare start. So, of course, here's the Phillies coming to town for 3. This is what Atlanta has to do to win the series. Yes, welcome on in to Braves Today for Tuesday, April 8th. Your source of news, notes, and updates on your Atlanta Braves. Now, I'm your host, Lindsay Crosby. You can follow me on social media at Crosby Baseball. You can follow the show on social media, Braves_Today on X. We have a Facebook page and Instagram as well. You can find all of my written work, bravestoday.com. That's the Braves Today Substack, as this is both a podcast and a newsletter. Those of you who have asked, a couple different ways to support the show. Obviously, if you're on audio, subscribe on whatever platform you're using, Spotify, Apple, whatever it is that Google uses for podcasts right now. Leave a 5-star review, rate it, 5-star review, some kind words. That always helps. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the notification bell so you know when we drop the next episode. Sometimes it'll be the media availability. When we get those from the team, we can post those for you guys to watch, see what Schwellenbach said after his start, or Chris Sale said, or Strider said, or Brian Snitker said, or Alex Anthopoulos said. Sometimes it'll be a bonus episode, like yesterday when I did an extra episode to talk about how much money the Braves are making from the Battery exactly, and all of that. Also, subscribe to the newsletter, free or paid. We picked up a couple paid subs yesterday after dropping a nice little long piece on Drake Baldwin, and today dropping a big long piece on this upcoming Phillies series, because Atlanta's in a really... I'm not breaking ground by telling you that things are very dire for the Braves right now. You are in the midst of a nightmare start to the season. And when I say nightmare start to the season, you are the only team with one win in all of baseball. The Colorado Rockies are 2-7. The Chicago White Sox are 2-7. The Atlanta Braves are 1-8. You are already 6 games out of first place. And it is the start of the second week of April. It is April 8th. And you are already 6 games out of first place. Now, by no means is Atlanta out of this. CJ Nikowski had a great stat that he uploaded over the weekend about how many teams have gone on an 0-7 run at some point in time in the season and still made the postseason. You're not out of this, but you've got to play better. And the hard part is, when it comes to trying to play better, you have to face the Philadelphia Phillies. I would argue that after this stretch, or I guess after the end of this homestand, it does get a little bit easier. You go to Tampa to play the Rays. You go to Toronto to play the Blue Jays. You come back home for the Minnesota Twins, the St. Louis Cardinals, and then you go on the road at Arizona, at Colorado. It's a lot more manageable of a schedule than at San Diego, at LA, home for Philly, right? The Diamondbacks are going to give you trouble. They give everybody trouble, right? But for the most part, it is a more manageable schedule than what you started off with. But to get there, you have to get through Philly. So let's talk about the Philadelphia Phillies, who they are as a team right now, the pitching matchups, and what Atlanta's hitters have to do to be better. And right now, what you need to know is this is an above average offense. This is not the best offense in baseball, right? They're scoring 5 runs a game through their 9 games. MLB average right now is 4.5 runs a game, so they're better than average, don't get me wrong. They've only hit 10 home runs, which is surprising, right? Now, Atlanta's only hit 6 and they're averaging 2.67 runs per game, but that's not what we're here for, right? We're talking about Philly. We know Atlanta's not good right now. Philly has not hit their stride yet. I think that's a... Now, the goal here, obviously, is we don't want Philly to start hitting their stride against Atlanta. But this lineup is the same lineup. Like, the only change that you've seen to this is Max Kepler, signed as a free agent. He's your starter in left field, right? Brandon Marsh is your starter in center. Johan Rojas is kind of the backup there. And Rafael Marchand, however you say it, is the new backup catcher behind JT Realmuto. But this is still Kyle Schwarber, Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, Alec Boehm, Bryson Stott, Nick Castellanos. It's the same team. It's the same team that you dealt with last year. And when you played them last year, you had some, I'm going to say, not bad results despite all of the injuries. You went 7-6 against the Phillies last year. You outscored them by 23 runs in the season series. Now, is a lot of that weighted by some of your early wins, right? You outscored them 21-7 in the first 2 games of the season, right? You just took it to the Phillies in games 1 and 2. After that, it feels like it was a little bit more even of a series. You took 2 out of 3 from them in mid-July. Even then, your 2 wins, like you lost 8-6 in the opener. Nola outdueled Fried. And then after that, 5-1 win by Schwellenbach, 6-0 win by Lopez. We're going to get to that game a little bit later, actually. And then when you turned around and faced them twice in August, you won 2 out of 3 at home, and then you lost 2 out of 3 in Philly. But even when you won that game in Philly, the end of August, it was a 7-2 win. Like, when Philly beat you, it was very close games. 3-0, 5-4, 8-6, things like that. When you beat Philly, for the most part, you beat Philly 6-0, 5-1. You took it to them. There was a couple close ones there in mid-August, 3-1, 3-2. But for the most part, when you beat Philly, you took it to Philly. But when they beat you, it was a little bit closer. That's a different Braves team than you have now. But the good news is, on paper, this should be a better Braves team than what you took against Philly last year. As far as your talent, right? You're not going to have Ronald Acuna Jr. for this series, right? Every other series you'll play against them this year, barring another injury, you should have Ronald Acuna Jr. for. But you're not going to be playing Whit Merrifield at second. You're not playing Gio Urshela at third. Like, you're not putting in Eddie Rosario or Adam Duvall in the corner outfield. Like, this should be a better roster than what you had last year once you get Ronald Acuna Jr. back. The big thing to me on this one is the pitching matchups, right? The pitching matchups for this series are absolutely fantastic. Chris Sale versus Zack Wheeler in game 1 tonight. Holy cow. If you're a fan of pitching, this is just fantastic. Last year's National League Cy Young winner, last year's Cy Young runner-up, okay? Sale led baseball in wins, in ERA, in strikeout rate, 11.4 per 9, and led the National League in strikeouts last year. Wheeler led the National League in hits per 9 last year at 6.3, and whip, 0.955. So, like, 2 of the best pitchers in the National League. Again, Wheeler was the runner-up to Sale for the Cy Young. Also, and I didn't realize this, I don't know why I didn't realize this until now, only his second All-Star in 5 seasons in Philly. He's had an ERA under 3 in 3 of his 4 full seasons in 4 of his 5 full seasons in Philly. He's only been an All-Star twice. Wild to me. Just absolutely bonkers to me. I didn't realize that until yesterday. Just nuts. But anyway, so that's game 1, right? Game 2, Grant Holmes versus Taijuan Walker. A lot of interesting stuff here because obviously Grant Holmes, converted reliever, moving to the rotation. Taijuan Walker has been a quality starter in the past. Absolutely was not last year. Dealing with injury. I want to say his ERA was like 7 and change. But he's looked pretty good in his 1 start this year. 6 scoreless innings, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts. There is a quality of competition matchup there. It was Colorado. We got to figure that out. And then game 3, Spencer Schwellenbach versus Jesús Luzardo. Luzardo's fully healthy, looks pretty back to his original form that he had prior to last year's injuries. Schwellenbach obviously is the greatest pitcher alive right now. So it's going to be a fun matchup. In just a second, let's talk about the starters for Philly in those 3 games, what to expect from them on the mound, and how Atlanta should attack them. We'll do that next, right here on Braves Today. But first, today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Chinook Seedery. You've heard me talk about this, the absolute biggest and best sunflower seeds on the market. 8 different flavors: original, lemon pepper, jalapeno ranch, parmesan and pepper, cinnamon toast, dill pickle, hatch chili, smokehouse barbecue. Get a sampler. Try all 8 of them. See if you like it. Once you've figured out what you want, ChinookSeedery.com, promo code BRAVES gets you 10% off and free shipping on orders over $40. Your options here, obviously, you can just buy a variety pack. It's a case with some of everything. Or you can build your own. You can customize your pack with whatever flavor specifically that you like. Again, ChinookSeedery.com, promo code BRAVES for 10% off, free shipping over $40. That's ChinookSeedery.com, promo code BRAVES for 10% off. Welcome back to Braves Today. Lindsay Crosby talking about this upcoming Phillies series and what you have to do. So game 1 was Zack Wheeler. This one is going to be really interesting because Zack Wheeler against you last year was very good. He has been his entire career, okay? Back up. 30 appearances against Atlanta in his career, counting his time in New York, where he was not as good as he was, or as he has been for Philly. But 30 appearances against Atlanta, 13-8, 2.95 ERA in Zack Wheeler's career versus the Braves. He's been very good against Atlanta. Last season, 3 starts, and this is funny, 0.95 ERA, a total of 2 earned runs in 19 innings, 20 strikeouts, no walks, and he was 1-1. He took a loss, allowing 2 runs in 19 innings, which is just the funniest thing to me. It reminds me of the old Jacob deGrom Mets kind of lines where he would go 7 innings with 1 run allowed, strike out 10, and they would lose 1-0 and he'd take the loss. Like, just no run support in that one loss. To explain what happened there, opening day starter, so it was him versus Strider. He goes 6 scoreless, 5 hits, no runs, no walks, 5 strikeouts. But Braves just get into the bullpen late. They scored 2 in the 7th and 7 runs in the 8th to take it 9-3. So no decision for Wheeler there. It was a series of games in August. He started 1 game in Truist and then 1 game a week later when they went back to Philly for the final matchup, or for his final matchup against Atlanta. And the road game for Wheeler in Truist Park is where he took the loss. 3-1 Braves victory. He goes 6 innings, 6 hits, 2 runs, does give up a home run. Marcell Ozuna tags him in the 6th. I think that was a solo shot. I don't think that was actually guys on base there. Yes, that's right, because it was Whit Merrifield opened with a triple in the 3rd. This was the Whit Merrifield revenge game. He opened with a triple in the 3rd. Michael Harris singled him in, and then it was a leadoff homer in the 6th. So, again, 2 runs. Reynaldo Lopez goes 5 innings, 5 hits, 1 run, strikes out 10 to Wheeler's 8. Wheeler takes the loss, and then starts against Atlanta the next week in Philadelphia. It's a 3-0 Phillies victory. He goes 7 scoreless, 4 hits, 7 strikeouts. Again, no walks against Atlanta the entire thing. So this adjusted approach of Atlanta of trying to run pitch count up, trying to draw walks, they still need to run pitch count up on Zack Wheeler, okay? But they have to understand he's probably not going to walk them. He's just probably not going to walk them. He has 2 walks in his 13 innings this year. And again, 19 innings last year, didn't walk a single Brave. So you need to understand that you have to get his pitch count up because the weakness of this Philly team really is the bullpen. And we'll get to that in the 3rd segment. But he's not going to walk you, okay? So what Braves hitters need to watch for? Against righties, his primary combo is the sinker and the sweeper. Okay? It's really good, too. The sinker's running 1.5 feet to the arm side. The sweeper's moving over 1 foot the other direction. So if you've seen some of the videos from Pitching Ninja on Twitter, where he'll overlay pitches on top of one another, and then you can watch them diverge. Zack Wheeler's a great example of that. If you're a righty, the most common thing he is going to do to you is he's going to throw you these two pitches, and the sinker, like halfway through the ball flight to the plate, they're going to look like the exact same pitch. And then the sinker's going to run in on you, and the sweeper's going to break away from you. It's going to be really tough. Against lefties, it's a little bit different, right? It's more of a vertical thing. There is some horizontal elements to it, but it's more of a vertical thing, right? He throws the four-seamer up, and then the secondary pitches, for the most part, he's going to have the split finger go into the arm side and the curveball go into the glove side. He has a cutter. He's only thrown it to lefties this year, right? Every single one he's thrown in his 2 starts have been to lefties. Last year, he threw 301 cutters. 296 of them went to lefties. So it's very rare for a righty to see a cutter. But that cutter's kind of the bridge pitch between the fastball up and everything else down. The cutter's kind of going to be in the middle there. Now, the thing that makes it really hard for lefties, and I think this is a problem for Atlanta because they have some lefties who are pretty good, is he does occasionally also throw the sweeper and the sinker to lefties. He doesn't use the sweeper against lefties because it's a big platoon split pitch, right? It's going to naturally break away from a righty, but it's going to break in on a lefty. So it's going to be into your bat path. And because of that, sweepers have the largest platoon splits of any pitch in baseball. But when he uses the sweeper on a lefty, it's not very often, 4% of the time, when he's facing a lefty, he'll throw a sweeper. Once or twice a game. But when he does it, he's throwing it inside on you so that he can then come back after it with a curveball. And the curveball is going to drop below your bat and be farther out over the plate when you were expecting a pitch on the inner third or inside. So that's thing one to watch for, is it's a really tough matchup for lefties because he has a lot more pitches and he's still willing to use the sinker sweeper against lefties. On the sinker, by the way, same thing. Doesn't throw it a lot to lefties, but when he does, it's almost always a front hip sinker with 2 strikes. You think this pitch is going to hit you, so you back up a little bit, you get your legs out of the way, and it runs back and just catches the corner for a strike. Okay? It's going to happen. Somebody's going to strike out on it tonight, and when they do, I want you to remember that I told you to watch for that, okay? It's going to happen. If you're watching with friends, you want to impress your friends, tell them, like, hey, I'd throw that front hip sinker here, and when he does it, you're going to look like a genius, okay? Just trust me on this. Here, the thing is, a lot of these Braves hitters don't have great records off of Wheeler. Olson's batting 192. Ozuna's batting 185. They both each have 2 homers, but other than that, they've not done much. Austin Riley's batting 250. Michael Harris is batting 250, which as a lefty, that's a great achievement for him. Brian De La Cruz, somebody to watch. 15 career at-bats. He's batting 267. So, let's watch that. Grant Holmes versus Taijuan Walker. Not a huge sample size on his stuff this year, but he's a guy, I've talked about this, he's throwing all 3 fastballs. He throws a sinker, he throws a four-seamer, he throws a cutter. This year, the order's been different. Last year, it was sinker, four-seamer, then cutter. This year, it's been cutter, then sinker, then four-seamer. But again, a little bit of a platoon thing here. He got rid of the sweeper from last year. He's just throwing a standard slider, a boring-ass slider, right? So it's been sinker, slider to righties. Lefties are getting four-seam curveball split finger, and then the cutter's being thrown to both, like, equally, right? Lefties and righties both see cutters. Now, the good news is for game 2, several Braves are in their careers have hit very well off of Taijuan Walker. Austin Riley's batting .417. Marcell Ozuna, Matt Olson, .273. Brian De La Cruz, .391. Like, you feel good. There's some decent matchups here. Game 3, Spencer Schwellenbach versus Jesús Luzardo. This is my dark horse for this could be the most entertaining matchup of the entire one, right? I think Jesús Luzardo is incredibly underrated. He had a bad year last year because of all the injuries. I think he's fantastic. He's added a sweeper this year. It's lefties get that four-seam fastball. He's throwing it like 97 miles an hour, right? Four-seam sweeper, and he's using the sweeper more than anything else to lefties. Like, the first pitch to lefties is a sweeper. And then with that, he goes four-seam or sinker. Righties, it's four-seam changeup, but he does still sometimes throw the slider, throw the sinker, and occasionally throw a sweeper. So it's just a really interesting kind of matchup there. Marcell Ozuna's batting .300 off of Jesús Luzardo. Ozzy's batting .308. And then Riley's like .222. Olson's like .167. I do expect Drake Baldwin, even if Murphy's back and starts the first 2 games, I expect Drake Baldwin to start this game. One, that's who Schwellenbach was throwing to last Friday when he was so awesome. But 2, lefty bat in the lineup, right? So I expect Drake Baldwin to get the start against, if nothing else, to get that Game 3 start against Jesús Luzardo. In just a second, let's talk about what the Braves hitters have to do and where they have to be better for Atlanta to win this game. We'll do that next, right here on Braves Today. Final segment of the show, Lindsay Crosby just breaking down this Phillies series, what to be watching for overall. And then obviously tomorrow, pretty sure we're going to be talking about what happened in this game because I feel like it's going to be really interesting one way or the other. Either we're going to be ranting or we're going to be ecstatic. I don't think there's any middle ground there. Okay. I already mentioned you have to get into that bullpen. Wheeler's not going to walk a ton of guys tonight. It's not what he does. But this bullpen is still not the most reliable bullpen in the world. They threw 5 different guys on Sunday. But they've had, Orion Kerkering blew a save on Sunday. I want to say it was Jordan Romano, I think, took a bunch of pitches to get a save the other day. He had a blown one the other day. They will rotate around their save situations. The last week, Jose Alvarado has 2 saves. Romano has 1. Yeah, Orion Kerkering's, he's deadly sweeper, by the way. Like the best sweeper, one of the best sweepers in baseball. He's been one of Philly's best relievers. But Romano has questions, right? Matt Strahm has some questions. He picked up 2 holds in the last week, but Matt Strahm still has some questions. This is, for a contending team, for a World Series contender, this is a surprisingly underwhelming bullpen, I would say. And I don't know if this is just they don't want to spend money on the bullpen like they've spent money everywhere else on the roster. But I do think the weakness of this Philly team is this bullpen, right? You've got to get the starters out of the game. So Atlanta needs to keep seeing pitches, needs to run up pitch counts. But the best way to run up a pitch count, honestly, is just keep getting hits. And you're in this weird place right now. The team as a whole is batting .173 with runners in scoring position, which isn't bad. That is bad. That is not great. I got ahead of myself there. Sorry. Your heart of the order, Matt Olson, Marcell Ozuna, Ozzy Albies, Austin Riley, they're a combined 10 for 40 with runners in scoring position. And that's the one that doesn't sound that bad, right? Oh, they're batting .250. That's not terrible with runners in scoring position. 6 of those 10 hits came on Friday night. 6 of the 10 were on Friday night. They're 4 for 30 with runners in scoring position outside of Friday night's game. That's the issue here. You can get to this Philly team, right? Here's the thing. Bryce Harper's going to get his. Kyle Schwarber's going to get his. They're going to score runs. We know that. Whatever you don't let Orlando Arcia go near a microphone. Just don't do it. Atlanta's hitters have to be able to get theirs. And Saturday night, we haven't really talked about the weekend series on the show because I wanted to go with the Drake Baldwin thing yesterday. I'm still trying to figure out, by the way, let me know if you have thoughts on that. I'm trying to figure out the right balance of previewing, of recapping games when we're doing a show at noon the next day, or like on a Monday, recapping the whole series on the show versus getting into the next thing. So let me know what you want to hear. I do this show for you guys. If you want me to sit down on Monday morning and recap the weekend series, tell me and I'll do that. Just let me know. Again, I'm on social media at Crosby Baseball. You can email us, contact@bravestoday.com. Let me know what you want. But I got worried on Saturday night because Atlanta had two different innings where the leadoff runner got in scoring position with no outs, leadoff guy, and the heart of the order was up. And they not only did they not score, they never advanced those runners, right? Michael Harris led off the game with a double. And then Ozzie, Ozuna, and Olsen, all three of them put the ball into play. None of them were even able to get Michael Harris to third. And then in the eighth inning, Stuart Fairchild, pinch hitting for, I think it was for Jared Kelenic, led off with a triple. Harris and Ozuna couldn't even get the ball in play. They both struck out. Ozzie Albies hit a grounder to second base, couldn't get Fairchild home, and that was the second out. And like, I've talked on the show before about the batted ball luck being not great for Atlanta. And that is true. The batted ball luck, for the most part, they are underperforming. But this doesn't explain being 4 for 30 outside of Friday night's game with runners in scoring position. You can't chalk all of that up to just bad batted ball luck. And at some point in time, Atlanta's, the core of the lineup, right? Like, it's one thing if Jared Kelenic's not producing with runners in scoring position. He's probably not going to have a job when Ronald Acuna Jr. comes back. He's probably going to go to Gwinnett. It's one thing if Jared Kelenic or Orlando Arcia is not hitting with runners in scoring position, or at all, really. It's another thing when Matt Olson's not doing it. It's another thing when Austin Riley's not doing it. When Ozzie Albies isn't doing it. When Marcell Ozuna's not doing it. Atlanta is going to go as far as those four bats take them. The Braves built the whole ship last year off of out of starting pitching and their bullpen. The pitching staff carried this team last year. Chris Sale had to win a freaking Cy Young for the Braves to make the postseason. He had to be that good. Spencer Schwellenbach had to, after his first 5 starts, had to have an ERA of like low 2s after the first 5 starts. Renato Lopez had to have an ERA under 2. Whereas Raisel Iglesias had to be one of the greatest closers that we've seen in the last couple seasons for the Braves to make the postseason. But from last year's staff, you've already subtracted Charlie Morton. You've already subtracted Max Fried. You've already subtracted AJ Minter. You've already subtracted Joe Jimenez. And today, Renato Lopez is having surgery that'll keep him out for at least 2 months. The odds of the pitching staff being able to carry this team again for a second straight season are significantly lower than they were last year. Like, the odds of them carrying the Braves again, the odds are lower than they were last year. Your offense has to do better. Will getting Ronald Acuna Jr. back help? Yes, it'll help. It's not going to fix everything wrong with the Braves offense. Mike Trout has won multiple MVP awards, and the Angels made the postseason once in his entire career. One hitter, no matter how good they are, one hitter does not make an entire offense in Major League Baseball. The core of the order, the heart of the order, has to be better. And it has to start tonight. Again, you have the worst record in baseball. You have a worse record than the White Sox. You have a worse record than the Rockies. You have scored less runs per game than anybody else in baseball. And so far, outside of Spencer Schwellenbach, your rotation has not been as good as they were last year. They're going to continue stretching out the rest of the way. But Chris Sale's gone 5 innings in both of your games, right? He has an ERA of 5.40 right now after 2 starts. He's allowed 6 runs in 10 innings. The offense has to do better, and if they don't, that's it on the season. I don't know how big the hole has to get to know that the Braves won't make the postseason. I'll continue to believe they can make the postseason because they absolutely can, and they probably will. But the offense has to figure it out. And until they do, postseason's not even going to be in the picture until the offense can start hitting like the major league veterans and top-tier performers that they are. This has been Braves Today for Tuesday, April 8th. You're listening on audio. Subscribe, leave us a 5-star review. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when we drop that next episode. Until next time, this has been Braves Today.